I got laid off. Not just me getting laid off, my team got laid off. Then the next day morning, I was going on a brunch. The moment I got dressed and everything, I walked out of my house, and I just took in the air, took in the sunlight, and I was like, I feel so free. I feel freedom. I feel so liberated. I've never felt this feeling to that level before.
Welcome to Promethean Leader. I'm your host, Samat Raza, and today we are delighted to have Eric Lee, who is the founder of Spice Lab, where he helps startups with their MVP and business development. He also was involved as an executive director of Vancouver design community, where he built communities around design and UI UX and other design related members. And today he joins us to talk about importance of design in a startup and also discuss his entrepreneurial journey. How are you doing, Eric?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. So let's get started with your journey. Like little bit, can you share a little bit of your background today?
A little bit of my background, current background, yeah.
Okay.
My current. Yeah, you basically covered with the founder for Spice Labs. Me and my partner were building that out right now, working with a couple clients. And outside of that, I'm outside of that, I have a passion of trying to plug this gap in the startup ecosystem in Vancouver. So working on supporting communities, entrepreneur tech communities, working with VCs, consultants, and investors to how we can support in providing that support to fill that gap. Yes.
That's very interesting because you are in a Spice Lab. Basically, you're trying to do is build a whole system where you can take a startup idea from the ideation phase to validation phase to MVP, and also if the idea holds true, you will be like taking them to VCs and helping them with bootstrapping and also VC funding. Is that correct?
Yes. Everything you mentioned, what you just mentioned, we have the capability to do that. Now, in terms of like the service offering, we're still working on how that works, since we just very recently founded, and we're trying to find our niche on how we can provide that service the best way possible. So we're keeping everything open-ended with whatever we're capable of and see whichever sticks, so that we can just focus on just that.
So you mentioned that you just started and it's not too long ago, basically. So how did you come up with this idea? How did you get involved so much in design, communities, and also entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's actually two very separate questions.
Okay, let's touch on it separately then.
Which one would you want to know first?
So let's start with how you got involved in entrepreneurship, and how did
Repeat the question.
So how did you get involved in entrepreneurship and design, and like then what led you to start Spice Lab?
That's a good question. I was back in university at SFU, where, so a little bit more, I came to Canada when I was 18, went to the Lingiera College program for computer science, got my associate's degree there. I was pursuing computer science because that was the only thing I was good at and capable in like high school. That was my highest scored grade. So my dad was against that for me, like pulled me out of the computer since I was always in front of my computer screen. But since he saw me, okay, got my best grade in computer science, I'll let you pursue it. I was, okay. So once I did that, transferred to Simon Fraser University. Couldn't get through the computer science program just yet. I was in the sciences program.
Okay.
I was working towards getting into computer science. And then through that journey, I was like, wait. Once it got to the harder stuff, like the backend, like algorithms and all that, I'm like, okay, this is not my thing. I don't think this is my thing anymore. I don't know what to do. So I was just exploring, discovering what I wanted to do. And then my friend recommended me the entrepreneurship program, Techie. And I was like, okay, seems very interesting. I always been interested in entrepreneurship because my dad has raised me with an entrepreneurship mindset to an extent. And then I was like, okay. And then once I got through it, it was like a 8-month program kind of thing. That was like one of my most eye-opening programs, experiences that I've been through. Reason because it kind of like, I was very introverted.
Yeah.
Through that program, I didn't know I could like talk to people that were beyond me, that I was capable of. Like even just like simply talking to teachers, teachers as in like elementary school teachers or something. I was very nervous about because they were not, I don't know them, they're outside my people, they're strangers. And then I also got to talk to like investors and people who are building startups and things like those, CEOs and C-level people. I never imagined I could talk to them or be even capable of like interaction. So I was like, oh wow, this is very interesting. That kind of motivated me to come out of my shell in terms of talking and reaching out to other people. Fast forwarding after like I was finished, I was still like looking for my program, what do I do? And my dad was giving me an ultimatum saying like, hey, you got to figure your shit out, otherwise I'm going to bring you back home out of Canada. I'm like, yeah, what will I do back in Canada, outside of Canada, back home? Like I spent five years at this point in Canada. I was like, okay, I need to figure my shit out. Like, what do I do? So I found this program called SIAT, School of Interactive Arts and Technology.
Okay,
It
and
was my
SFU, right?
department, NSFU. And I thought like, okay, all I knew was like development. I'll just do front end there. But then I also encountered prototyping and design in a very interesting way that you can create apps like on Figma. I discovered Figma basically, actually. And I only found out its full capability through your program, Emerge SFU, when you had the first UX class, where you can do so much more than that. That's when it came to me. I'm like,
just for the little background here, in university time, I used to run a free workshop program for students where we would teach students UI UX design and web development, and Eric joined us as one of the instructor for UI UX in our second term, yes. So this is what he is referring to as Emerge SFU.
Like I was learning all the concepts of UX and everything through the program and everything, but it wasn't very eye-opening or like applied in a way. But when I went through your first class and I found out the capabilities of Figma in terms of building your own web application, having it interact, that's when it came to me. I'm like, what if I learned this and I can build out an application that's not an actual application, but it's a low-level cost to build out the experience, put it in front of the investors, and they'll just throw money at me, That was my idea, whole idea. And that's what sparked a lot of things. That's where everything started, like entrepreneurship and design. That's the hand in hand.
Okay, so you mentioned a really interesting point of like just designing a prototype of app and then try to take it to VC, right? I remember in the university time when we basically were finishing off, we connected, and one time you showed me this app where you were trying to do very much interactive classroom online at the COVID times.
Yes.
So what was that app about?
The idea came out of when me and my buddies, we participated in the hackathon called NW Hacks.
Okay.
And we came out first place, actually.
With that idea?
With that idea.
So can you like explain that idea, what it was?
So the idea was basically like, during the pandemic, it was very difficult for like newly grad engineers to do lead coding. I'm not sure if you're familiar with lead code, but lead code is basically like a coder's, it's just like, you know how you do like a driving test, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to this app where you have to keep answering questions and get better at it. So lead coding was one way for developers to get better at interview coding, live coding.
Okay.
So everybody did lead code, but to my friend, his pain point was like, lead coding usually is fun when you're around with your friends, fellow engineers who are trying to get a job. So, but during the because of the pandemic, you cannot be with your homies anymore, your buddies with you anymore. So what we did was like we created a all-inclusive collaboration live platform where you can collaborate. Essentially, we're creating like a room that your buddy can join you, and you basically do lead coding together. So it has like chat system, voice chat. You have a video that you can watch together to figure out solutions, get ideas on how to solve questions. And there was like even like we embedded an API for you to code inside of that room that you can share at live. So you can solve lead codes together. That was the whole idea. And then that was the idea that got us first place in the hackathon. Beyond that, we saw some potential. A lot of people were using it, and we saw a lot of people just wanting to interact with it because it was kind of interesting for all of them, very interactable. So we were like, maybe there's potential here. So we tried to like see how would that look like if we actually move forward with it.
So what happened with that? Did you move forward with it?
We tried a little bit into like applying, creating pitch decks and all that, but it was just like another side project. We were just wanting to explore where it can lead, how we can lead. So we didn't go too far with that. We saw a lot of constraints in terms of like technology feasibility, because it was starting to charge a lot of money. Like we didn't make it very efficient enough. So it was actually charging a lot for every interaction you make in that, and especially if you had a drawing, brainstorming board there. So the cost was already too much. And to like put it out there to make it an actual idea, the founders, the people I was working with, had some disagreements on how do we proceed with that. So we just ended up not going through that at all because it was just a side project anyways.
Okay, so like, would you count that as a first attempt to start up, or would you be like, oh, it was just a side hustle, we were just trying things out?
I was just trying things out. I would not call it like a proper hustle. I would maybe like something that's close to my first hustle would have been a project that the hackathon that I did for UX hackathon.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Would you like to know more about it? Yeah.
Yeah. We do want to know a little bit more about that first project that you consider as a first startup or attempt at a startup. And then we also want to like jump into the Spice Lab because that's your new project.
Right.
That's very interesting because you are trying to take a company or ideation to actually investment. So that's a very big jump.
Right. Okay, I'll tell you more about the hackathon because that hackathon was what sparked a lot of my motivations and understanding. It basically sparked the motivation to do everything that I'm doing now. Context with that, I had a lot of, like, when I was teaching through your program, I had a lot of students come up to me and like, hey, Eric, we love UX. We love to see this. How do we start on this?
Yeah.
How do we create a portfolio piece and everything? And I was like, I didn't have, like, back then, like, UX was still very, like, new and underdeveloped in terms of, like, how to break in. Everybody was trying to find their own way. So what my advice was like, hey, there's not much. Maybe look into your favorite application. Try to redesign, remodel it. Maybe remodel it to solve a different problem. Or maybe go to these hackathons that are meant for engineers and computer programmers and come in as a designer. That's how I won my first hackathon as a designer because I could really empathize and brainstorm and facilitate all that as a product manager or product designer at the time. So that was the advice I gave. Then I encountered University of Washington in Seattle. They run something called as a protothon.
Okay.
It's a prototype hackathon. No code needed. All you do is like create a prototype that simulates the application. And then through your program, I was invited as a guest talk. So I think I presented something like a 5-stage of design. So it was basically a design thinking process that I explained in my own way, very introductory. And I was like, wow, this is very cool. We need something like this in Vancouver. So then I started like looking to like what's out there. And turns out nobody was really building on something that was open to the public like that. Like University of Waterloo did it, but they did it within their own club and community, not something like open inter-school or something like that. I was like, okay, this is very cool. And I started like talking to a few people, and they were all very excited as well. I was like, okay, this is leading to somewhere. So then I spent the next 7 months building a team, setting out the foundation, putting out the rubric, putting things together from scratch, trying to get traction, trying to find money. How do I incorporate? So I created a club at SFU to represent through it, talked to a lot of my faculty members and in charge, try to put this thing together. That 7 months was like grind. It felt like a startup, totally, and I didn't know where it was going. All that drove me was like, I'm too deep in. I want to make this happen in some shape or form. I don't care if it fails. So we ended up getting it online because it was during the pandemic, 2020, late 2020. Everything was slightly easier, more affordable, because we're not doing it in person. Most of the cost from a hackathon is usually the in-person cost.
Event booking and venues and stuff.
And security and all the facilities and guiding. That takes a lot of work. So since everything was online, it made it easier for me. So since then, and then I hosted it, executed it, and there was like a 2-3 day event with all the workshops and everything. Somehow we put it together, and we did it. We had 100 people come in, and we had like 30 mentors, and we executed it. After that, I was like, okay, this was cool. I did it. I don't know. I didn't feel like it didn't sink in. The feeling didn't sink in or anything. But the time when it did sink in terms of the impact.
Yeah.
The impact. What I meant is that the impact of that hackathon, I didn't see it, or it didn't sink in with me. So I was like, okay, just did it, whatever. But then when we came back outside the pandemic, I did an in-person talk at Google's developers group in Vancouver when they had the thing right out the pandemic. I did a talk. I had one person come to me and was like, "Hi, Eric, I participated in that hackathon, and I'm really happy and glad that you did that. That changed my life in terms of," turns out one of the people who participated with her became her mentor and eventually led her to getting a job. She was very thankful and she appreciated, showed me her gratitude that day. And then I was like, wow, you are the exact person. This is the exact impact that I imagined my audience to have from that. And just by you telling me that, knowing that at least one person helped one person, it gave me the biggest hit of dopamine or satisfaction I've never felt. And that's what motivates me to do the things I do.
Yeah, I bet all those months of grinding and putting things together and going through all the stress was worth it when just one person came up to you and just said you helped that person into achieving a goal or helping them change their life trajectory in the good way, in a positive direction. So it's I bet that was a big dopamine hit.
That was one of the biggest realizations and dopamine that I'm now currently chasing.
So that was the whole foundation of Vancouver design community.
No, Vancouver design community was started by Jurel.
Okay.
He founded it during the pandemic. In fact, his community was very much part of the hackathon that I did. They helped support my hackathon.
Okay.
Outside of that, I was very much into communities during the pandemic, trying to learn UX, trying to figure out, because I was working for Raj, who came to your podcast.
Our first guest.
Yeah, I was the founding designer for that startup. So I was still trying to figure things out, how to work it out. And I felt I had imposter syndrome. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was trying to learn around. So one of the big things that came out was design buddies and Gerald's Vancouver design community, it was called Vancouver Design Check-in at the time. So I got a lot of information to help support my career as a designer in UX. That's what. So because of that, I wanted to get more involved with volunteering after my hackathon. I was like, I want to make an impact. I want to continue helping designers in the space. So I joined the community, eventually took over last year, 2023, as a director in January, because Jarrell had wanted to pass it on to someone, and we were moving from online to more in-person events, so which I had a lot of ideas for. That's where Vancouver design community came out. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's get back to your Spice Lab. Right. So you said you started like a couple of months ago, I believe. Before that, you were doing something else. So it's like, what were you doing then, and what was the impact of whatever you were doing at that time led you to start a Spice Lab? Because like it didn't really create that idea out of nowhere, right? You already had something going on.
There's a lot of, I'll have to give you a couple backstories.
Okay.
Like, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, go for it.
Jumping back to like our university, I really liked the entrepreneurship part. That inspired me. If I didn't have to get a full-time job, because I had to get a full-time job to solidify my status here in Canada. So for that, I needed a full-time job.
Yeah, so the requirement of 1 year of full-time work to get the PR, right?
So I was pursuing UX design for that. But if I didn't need to, I would have probably tried starting my own venture from there, get-go.
From right from the university.
Once I graduated, or even before that.
I think this requirement of 1 year of work, and then you get a PR and solidify your status in Canada. That kills a lot of like entrepreneurship and like those kind of dream and like idea of innovating in the community.
Yeah,
like delays a lot of things, and then the market is not right, the circumstances are not right, and like all those things kind of sometimes delays it, and most of the times kills the motivation to pursue it afterwards.
100%. That's what I was going through. When I got my job, it was actually through the judges who I brought into the hackathon. They were in a month, and after I graduated, they were looking for a designer. That's where I applied. So yeah, that's how I got my reference, how I got my first job. During that job, I didn't feel very satisfied at all. I was not learning a lot. All I was learning was how to collaborate in a big, well-settled enterprise, or like a well-settled company, corporation. How does the corporation structure work? How do people work interconnected within dev and product teams and beyond?
I see.
In a professional manner. That's all it taught me. But outside of that, it didn't really teach me anything else. In terms of my skill, it did not give me the passion, fulfilled my need, did not give me the dopamine stimulant that I need.
So you were still like looking for that impact that you made on one student or one person, and you were just chasing that. So basically, when you were in your corporate job, you were not getting that, you were not feeling that. So that left you feel empty.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like one of the big things is like to me is impact. If I don't even talk to the people that I'm impacting their lives with, which is the end users. Little context, I was working for like credit unions, and credit unions and their members are the actual users, right? Actual members. I never had a conversation with them.
Really?
So I was not talking to the people that I'm making the impact for. So if I'm not connecting with them, it doesn't give me any motivation because I don't know them.
I see.
I'm trying to make an impact on people's life that I don't even talk to. That doesn't make sense to me. So that was blocking it. So and because like I have ADHD, I'm diagnosed ADHD. I'm always looking for
I never knew that.
Yeah, I got that last October, diagnosed properly. So I'm always chasing for like a next dopamine. I always need stimulants to keep me motivated. The job that I was at, especially was in hybrid. Mostly I was online most of the time.
See.
It's too boring, man. I was 2 years of just that. It was too boring for me. I did not improve myself. So that's why I put all my energy into the community instead. That's where it gave me the dopamine hit and the stimulation of helping the people that I care and I interact with on a daily basis. So yeah, where was I getting with that? Kind of all over the place. That. Yeah, so when I got laid off.
You got laid off?
I got laid off.
So you didn't leave the job?
I didn't leave the job. So I got my PR last year.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a big thing. And then a few months after, I was like figuring out what do I want to do. I was always exploring. Okay, yeah. When I was in my job, I kept reminding myself, going to the point you mentioned, like you're in a job and you get too comfortable and you lose motivation to start your own venture, right?
Yeah.
Going to that point, I was always convincing myself, this is not where I want to be. This is not where I see myself being in the long run. This is just me learning. This is a phase.
Yeah. You know, it's like,
don't become one of the sheep.
I see. It's like, you know, it reminds me of a story I heard from a friend, and he says like, if you boil a water and put a frog in it, it will jump out. But if you actually want to cook the frog to death, put the frog in the cold water and slowly warm the water up and heat it up. Before it knows it, it will be dead. So it's like what he was trying to get at was that's how like corporate world and that's how our current community and style of working kills the ideas and innovation, because like you don't realize that you're too excited to get in first. You are like, oh, out of university, too excited to get into like big corporate world and everything. But and then you are like, oh, I'm gonna pursue this, I'm gonna learn this, and then I'm gonna start my own venture. I'm gonna get into that. But slowly and gradually, every day you are moved toward it, and then you get too comfortable with it, and then you're like, oh, starting venture is too difficult. If I do that, I won't be able to pay my bills. I won't be able to pay my mortgage. And then slowly, the motivation dies.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Like it did die a little bit, no, for sure. But I just have to keep reminding and funneling it to something else, which was the back to the community. So what I did with the community was I tried to find because UX was so new, not all the titles and everything were still very saturated.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows what those titles mean. So that gave me an opportunity to network and talk to other people in the industry, researchers, strategists, principal, all those, trying to find where can I get that dopamine hit. After talking to all of them, they're all struggling to make a name for themselves, to have a seat on the table, to be able to make the impact that they want to make, which made me like, okay, maybe design is not where it is at, you know? So try to pursue something beyond. So I met someone who was in the entrepreneurship space back to like as a venture studio, which was interesting concept to me. So I was like engaging with that and see if I could help out and support them. So meantime, when I was like talking to them, I got laid off. Not just me getting laid off, my team got laid off.
The whole team got laid off?
Almost the whole team.
What was the reason, if you don't mind me asking?
I do not know.
So you do not know?
Full reasons.
Okay.
I have ideas and thoughts that could be the reasons why they laid us off. But I don't think I don't want to reveal them.
Okay, it's okay.
It's okay. To the company.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like, but like, sorry to hear that. Like,
no, don't be sorry, because when I got laid off, took that day, I didn't believe that I would be laid off because it was like finance, it was a comfortable industry.
Okay.
But so it took me a day to process that. Then the next day morning, I was going on a brunch. The moment I got dressed and everything, I walked out of my house and I just took in the air, took in the sunlight, and I was like, I feel so free. I feel freedom. I feel so liberated. I've never felt this feeling to that level before. And then I'm like, why? Because I am not constrained or bound by all the uncomfortable chains that were on me. I'm not in school.
Yeah.
School is done. I'm not. I have my PR. That change is done. My parents, I've met their expectation.
They're happy.
They're happy. They're a little worried about, like, of course, being laid off and everything, but like that's not a chain that binds me. And I don't have a work that I was unhappy with.
So I would say the frog jumped out of the pot before it got too hot.
Yeah, exactly. It felt, I felt like, damn.
Yeah, most people, I would say, like feel low after getting laid off, like go to their low point, and but you were saying like right on the next day you were feeling that high.
Yeah, I
What?
felt I was like, oh, this is right. This is right for me. I was bounded by a lot of things.
You didn't let the negativity sweep in and like try to like bring you down.
Yes,
So
yes.
like can you tell us like how or why how you were able to do that? Because like I would think a lot of people would not like to know how to tackle these kind of things, because I myself when I got out of university, right, it was in the COVID time, I was literally looking for jobs. I applied hundreds of jobs, no answer whatsoever. I was in the deep low. Like I was too deep. I couldn't really think of like, oh, what to do next. Like again, the same thing. I had like no PR, no status, and then the work permit was like not renewable. So it's basically like expiring every single day, going towards the expiring. And I was like, I was losing that motivation again and again. Slowly and gradually, it was just going down. After probably like 120, 130 resumes and like probably 30, 35 interviews, I got the job, and I was really happy and grateful for it. But like, there was a time, believe it or not, there was a time that I was at the very low point. So I would personally would like to know how you were able to actually catch that high right after and not go into that negativity, because I do want to train myself.
No, that's fair. I would go back to a little bit before I graduated. I found the power of community and power of keep talking and engaging with people. There were a lot of people during the pandemic and even after the pandemic who just wanted to talk to people, feel supported. I never stopped talking to people ever since the entrepreneurship program.
Yeah.
And ever since I started building my the hackathon thing for 7 months, I never stopped talking to people. All the people that I talked to and brought in, they brought me a lot of value, brought me a lot of clarity to what I want to do, what I need to do. So that had led me to opportunities. Everything I've achieved till now is a result of not my background, not what I studied, how much I spent in my degree. As I was an international student studying for 7 years.
Yeah.
You can imagine how much money I spent on a piece of paper.
Probably 150 at least.
More.
More than that. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
because your program is like technical, so it was more than mine.
Yeah.
Mine was like
There's also like
different.
living costs and everything.
Living costs
Imagine
here in Vancouver. Living costs crazy.
Yeah. Right now it's crazy.
Even
Before
that it was crazy.
It was still crazy.
We started.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I would say like in 2015 when we started, it was not that crazy. But now it's just like
we're coming from India. Like it was a little crazy still. But anyways, coming back, all the opportunities I got was through talking to people, and I kept talking. So the moment I got out of graduated,
yeah.
I spent a month in LA with my friends, got back, and I just sent out a few resumes online. All I got was like 2 interviews.
Okay.
One was from Samsung, one was a credit union that I was part of. I got my credit union first. Because of the first connection, who was the design lead was my judge at the hackathon.
Yeah.
I got my job through that. My Samsung decided to not even go forward with the interview because
Really?
they decided that they don't want anyone for the role. They don't want that role anymore.
So they basically eliminated the role itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, but I just had one interview technically, and I got it because of all the experience that I gained.
And the connections you made.
And the connections I made.
I definitely agree with you on that, because as I said, like when I was in the low point and like applying jobs and trying to get interviews and all, the job I got was because of a personal connection. I had working in a co-op position, made a connection with few people there, and then one person moved to a different company, and then they were looking for someone to fill a position, and that's how they told me about the job, and I applied, and that's how I was able to basically. I'm really grateful for that because 100%, just having that personal connection, just having that community, it makes you feel supported. Plus, it opens door and opportunity for you.
Yeah, it was great. So yeah, coming back.
Yeah.
I did not. Once I got my job.
Yeah.
I did not stop talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
In the 2 years that I was there, I was still building the community. I was still engaging, helping solving the problems of the people in the community.
Yeah.
And I talked to more and more people. A lot of people stop networking after they get a job because they think oh,
It's
I'm networking because I want to get a job. I achieved it? No.
I'm guilty of that too. I would say that I'm guilty of that.
Don't worry. But I continued to talk because I did not. My goal was not the job. Job was just a way to get my PR and get some experience. It was interesting to explore, to see what I can do. But through that, once I got laid off,
Yeah.
I did not feel I didn't feel that I have to start from scratch. Because I've already built out a network. I'm already getting a lot of opportunities here and there. And looking at my close friend Jarrell, who started the community, he was laid off a year before that. And he's doing great for himself. Just seeing him embrace it really helped me also think about, I just have to embrace it. I have a good leeway. I have a good severance. Canada is paying me, government is paying me employment insurance. I don't have to worry about rent. I am in the really good position right now to just explore. So things were just, yes, my situation did help me, but it was because all the connections, I was building everything that I was working on, everything I was building the community in open. So everybody who I was engaged with saw what I was doing and how I was building it up.
Yeah.
That leads to more people wanting to reach out to you, talk to you.
I see.
And see how more opportunities comes out from there if you're building in the open. They can see you as a person.
So I would say not only you were trying to build an opportunity for yourself, but you're creating an ecosystem where you're building opportunity for everyone in that ecosystem.
Yes.
So is it fair to say that when you got laid off and you were feeling good about it, you had an ecosystem, you had opportunity, you could have gotten job if you wanted. If you wanted, you could have gotten a job again with working in design or working in the corporate sector. But now the interesting part is that you didn't pursue that part.
I did pursue it.
Yeah, you didn't pursue a corporate job again. You felt that
I did.
You did?
I did try.
You did try it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would lie to say if I did not try.
Okay, so how was that then?
Market is really bad right now. There's two less opportunities. I started off as just an intermediate. I was lucky enough to start off as somewhat of an intermediate designer.
Yeah.
I have 3 years of experience, but that is just 1 year of experience short. In terms of getting work, yes, if I'd stayed on that path on pursuing a job, I would have eventually got a job. No, for sure, because I'm right now, all the work that I did 2-3 months ago, I'm getting a reply almost now-ish for that, but I'm not interested anymore.
I see.
So yeah, I was confident that I would have gotten a job. It just gonna take a lot of time. But what pushed me to it is when I was helping out a venture studio, things didn't work out with that venture studio. It was almost so when things didn't work out with that venture studio, it felt so okay, a little bit coming back, taking a step back. I was putting my energy into the venture studio.
Yeah.
And while I was with them, and the people I was connecting and talking to were on another level, because they were entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, or people building something, founders, right?
Yeah.
It felt great. I felt like that was a space I belonged. And I'm a kind of person who I always try to find my tribe, the space that I belong, the people that I connect with. They were the people I connect with. But I still felt like an imposter.
The innovators.
Yes. But when things didn't work out with the venture studio, it felt like I was rejected by the community. Maybe I'll go look for a job. I was in the lowest point of my life. I was trying to figure out like, what do I do? Maybe I'll go look for a job. So I was like building my portfolio, resume, all that. But I did not stop talking to people. I continued talking to people. And this time I tried to continue talking to people in the entrepreneurship space.
Yeah. Okay.
One thing led to another. I was in an event by Simon Chow, and I was talking to him. Been a while because I've always seen him around.
Yeah.
Jennifer connected us. So I was like, I've been meaning to go to his event. Went to his event, just chatted with him, and then after that event, he was like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm hosting another event after. I need volunteers." I was like, "Okay, I'll come volunteer." Me and 5 other people went volunteer there. So it was like a curated event with about over 100 founders and investors. And I was just I could see the list. I was handing out blue tags and red tags.
Yeah.
And the blue tags were all founders that has raised at least $100,000 in Vancouver.
$100,000 they have raised it for their ventures.
Yes.
Okay.
Imagine, like, that's unheard of.
So,
I've not seen
you're saying like 100 people already raised $100,000.
Yeah, and they were all in one room.
Yeah.
And then I gave out red tags.
10 million walking right there.
Yeah, no, for sure, like total. And then there were people we hand out red tags, which was about 10 of them or something like that. And you can imagine who they are, you know?
So you basically like that volunteering, you got paid in such a great way that like you wouldn't have if you were working in like corporate job or anything.
Yeah, no, that experience itself, just volunteering and looking at these people, the way they work and talk, it's just enlightening. And I didn't network much that event, during that event.
Okay.
And once our work was done, slowly volunteers were leaving.
Yeah.
Eventually, I was the last one standing. I was like, you know what? I'll just see through the end and we'll see what happens. Then I was the last one standing, and then everything was wrapping off, and they were having like, Simon was like, "Oh, hey, you want to join us for dinner?" I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to join you guys for dinner." So I thought I would like just chit chat and see how the community space and entrepreneurship is, because I'm a community builder myself. And then I walk into the private area in the event, and I walk in. There were like, I didn't expect there were like 10 people there, around there, 10, 15 people. And I walked in, and they were all wearing red tags.
Oh.
There was not a single blue tag.
All investors.
All investors or founders who have built and made a name and successful to an extent. And I felt like, what the fuck am I doing here? You know, I'm the only non-founder. So like someone asked like, "Hey, are you a founder?" I'm like, "No." You can clearly see their head turning. But and then they needed to do an introduction. Everybody was going to do a public introduction and then ask for themselves. I was nervous. I was shitting my pants right there. And then what do I say? How do I make it? What do I do this, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, Eric, just get your shit together." So when it came to my turn, I stood up and I was like, "Hi, I'm Eric. I'm your friendly Vancouver community builder. I build communities. I've supported hackathons, UX hackathons for SFU, UBC, Emily Carr, which we have. I built out the community. I do a director for Vancouver design community for 3,000 local designers, all that. Now I'm in the entrepreneurship space. So if you guys, my ask is like, if you want to support the change makers of tomorrow, please connect with me. I would love to provide your expertise, make it more accessible to the young entrepreneurs in Vancouver." And then that sparked something with these guys. These guys have like raised, they have funds of like $100 million and all that. They're all like crazy. They were like, "Yeah, we need that. It's great that what you're doing, what you're building. We need to see more community. There's a big gap in the startup ecosystem in Vancouver. A lot of people are leaving. There's not much going on now. And we need you guys to be part of it." These guys were engaging. And then after some of them wanted to talk to me and work further. That was another time I felt very much validated into what I do.
I bet.
Because you know how like I felt coming back, I felt like I was rejected by the community
So you got that value and validation back.
but
Yeah.
with people that were even more reputable or have a foundation and base in Canada, North America.
Already made a name for themselves. Yeah.
So seeing them validate me, I was like, maybe I have something after all. So that
So
gave
you're
me the
onto something
motivation.
basically.
Then from there, the next month, every week, I went to 4 to 6 events. Every
Networking
week.
events.
Yeah, it could be networking, could be panel talks, whatever. There were a
So
lot.
whatever events you could find where you could find like similar-minded people
Yeah.
in tech and investment and entrepreneurship, you just started going to those events.
Yeah,
How
still
did
kept
you
talking
find
to
those events,
people.
if you don't mind just telling?
There are a lot on Eventbrite. There were
Eventbrite.
people that I talked to who host these events. I made a connection with the community builders.
Yeah.
So the way I was approaching it was, building a community is hard, man. There's no money here. There's no lack of support. Ecosystem doesn't support it.
Lot of time investment, but nothing in like a monetary gain.
Yeah, there's very less monetary gain except for your permanent, your personal reputation, personal branding. So I'm like, I'll make it easier. Since I've experienced hosting events, let me help leaders to help them host in any way I can.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. Talked to more people, found more people, and yeah, that's how Spice Labs came about.
All right. So now, since we got to the Spice Lab, I think it would be more beneficial if we get a little bit more in detail about Spice Lab. So like people or founders, entrepreneurs, whoever is watching are interested in like availing your service and like basically taking their idea. Because like what I feel like a lot of founders have this, lot of entrepreneurs, not even founders, a lot of entrepreneurs who have like entrepreneurial mindset, a lot of people, they have this idea that they want to pursue, but they just don't know where to start from. They just don't know how they're going to make their MVP. They don't know how to build teams and all of that. But the Spice Lab is providing that service where you're taking that idea and helping that entrepreneur into like validating that idea, and then also like taking to the investment phase and bootstrapping and all that. So let's talk a little bit about like how you are helping that.
Right. You want me to tell you how I do that, or
Like
or how did it came about to be?
So let's talk about how it came about to be, and let's then get into how if a normal person wants to actually, they have an idea and they want to like pursue it, how you
Right.
can help them.
Okay, so the idea came about to be like, I met a friend of a friend, a mutual friend that I've heard about for a while, that was in the startup space,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship space. I met him recently, like almost 2 months ago, and something clicked between us. He's a fractional CTO of like 3 companies,
Okay.
and has built out MVPs, and he has an offshore team of developers and designers that he has worked together to build this out. So he has experience with that. That was interesting to me. And I came to him with the proposal of having a space where we can bring in people from these communities who are actual builders,
Yeah.
and just co-work, and like exchange ideas. And that was a simple idea. And then the more people I talked to, then I had that night, the investors dinner thing. Then I took it further. Then I did research, and like there is a huge, huge, huge gap in the startup ecosystem in Vancouver, especially in terms of early investors for founders, early support. There's a big gap in that. Also, Vancouver builders and entrepreneurs, most of them, there's a lot of people out there trying to build, have so many ideas. Everybody here, so many ideas. A lot of them are pretty good, but they don't know where to start. They don't know how to pursue.
Yeah.
They all die out. Reasons because they are staying in their own bubble, and reasons because they don't know their people. They think talking to people outside of their comfort zone, outside of their bubble, is a big no.
Okay.
Or it's very hard for them. They embarrass themselves.
No,
and
I understand
everything,
that.
It's a very cliquish. It's a social problem.
It is.
To solve that, I was trying to create a funnel where I can support and guide call them, from start to end through me and my buddy. So we were trying to figure out how do we make a non-profit organization that purely supports this, and then we can and also build a for-profit that we can sustain ourselves with. That could go hand in hand or could go side by side, like separately, it doesn't matter. So it all came, those were the ideas. But as we pursued more on both fronts, we kept iterating, and then Spice Labs was born. Spice Labs is basically leveraging our connection, our network, and our experience and expertise. So we're like subject matter experts in in the exploration phase, business phase, prototyping, MVP, and actually building out. Between me and my partner, we can give all that to a lot of the new founders. So we're currently engaging with clients who are interested in working with us, and they know that we're not acting like a service agency. We're acting like someone who want to walk with you long term to build out the product. And if we have some stake in it, we really put we try kind of like own the product with you. So we try to build it out like owners rather than just suppliers or service providers. So that's why people want to engage with us a lot more on that side and build it out. So whatever we can provide, we're providing right now. Eventually, like once we do this a couple of times, eventually we'll then narrow down on what we can provide and how we want to work with people. But yeah, that's what we do in Spice Labs.
So which industry you are targeting right now?
I don't have an industry. A lot of people are asking me about that. We don't have an industry we're targeting.
Anyone can come to you and tell you their idea, and you will see how you can help them build their MVP, help them achieve the initial investment, and help them with the strategizing for bootstrapping and other business development?
Yeah, it depends on what they need. Like all this, we don't want to do this professionally right now. Like our initial conversations, I want to be very organic. I want to be friends with the people who want to build out, because I don't want to be like, oh, if you don't have a good idea, if you don't have the resources, I'm not going to work with you and I'm going to ignore you. No. My passion is to help people on that spot to reach the level where they can get invested. That's my personal passion. And helping them through finding product market fit. That's my personal pressure. I want to get really good at product market fit. That's the thing I want to get really good at.
I see.
So I want to just engage with the person, listen to their idea, maybe do like a design sprint or two, everything for free of cost. And I can recommend and get them to connect with some people in my network, all free of cost, just out of the goodness of my heart. And it's up to them if they want to work with us in the future. Because by doing that, I also see that in their eyes, we're more veteran in the network. We know the people who they need to work with. They can get access to. So through us, they get access to not just through our services. Through us, they get access to everything they need and the resources and connections they need in order to build out to where they want to be.
This is great. So you are not charging them for your initial services right now.
That's not a service. I don't even call that a service. It's just like something
just like connect with you. Okay, yeah. So it's like if you are a founder or if you have any idea that you want to work on, you can connect with Eric, like on LinkedIn or through any other like a page, the website that he would share with us. We'll share that in the description. And just connect with him. He might be able to help you make your idea a reality. So this is great.
Yeah, that's what I like. That's why I'm passionate.
And like, you know what struck me most is that so much involved in the community, and you are emphasizing so much on like building community, going out there, making that network, connect with people, and not just for like any kind of gain of like just getting a job and then forgetting about people or like not pursuing that. You're doing all that, and before the interview you said you were an introvert, and I'm like, okay, this guy doesn't sound like introvert, doesn't act like introvert, but he is an introvert. Let's say
being So I was born and raised in India as a Chinese.
That's
Right.
a whole different
A
story.
whole different story. But so in that space, my first 18 years, my voice was always pushed down just because I was different. I didn't have everything I say, everything I do comes a lot in the limelight of a lot of people. So
I see.
every good thing, every bad thing I do, people will judge, right? And use that as a weapon to push me down, right?
Right.
Now, so then, yeah, I came off as an introvert then. Coming to Canada, starting fresh, whole personality change, now new environment. Took me a while to find my own voice. And then eventually, through the entrepreneurship program, it forced me to come out of my shell to talk to people that I didn't never think I would talk to. And that conversation really, like those conversations that I had with people, really was like exciting to me because I was trying to solve a problem that was beyond me, that idea.
Oh, I get that.
And now then I was in the community space, design community space. I was like sneaking in as a volunteer, talking to people, and even your program, I didn't know I was going to ever teach. I had like, why would I teach students when I'm very new myself? But then I motivated, you know what, let me just go and do it. And talking to people, like because I was like 1 or 2 steps ahead, I was able to talk to them and give them guidance. All this made me more comfortable and more confident in myself as a person in that space.
I see.
So it all comes down to not if you're an introvert or not, or you're an extrovert, doesn't matter. If you're not confident about yourself or your image in that space, you will not be able to. You'll not be able to provide the energy, or you'll not be able to express, or you'll not be able to talk to people the way you want to talk to.
Yeah.
So, like for example, like you say I'm like an extrovert and everything. That dinner meeting that I did with the founders and investors, right? That I mentioned. That's a completely new space. I was feeling like an imposter, but all I did was like I have some identity that I'm confident in, and I just put it out there. If they like it, sure. If they don't like it, whatever. I tried, but I put myself out there. I just needed to try.
Don't overthink, just try it.
Just try, and then it depends on them, and they like it or not. And I got positive feedback, so that improved my confidence of the value that I can provide to that community of entrepreneurs.
I bet.
So every following event I became more confident as a person because I know they find my skills valuable.
I see. No, I get that. Like, I would say maybe you were an extrovert, but like the circumstances in the beginning push you to be an introvert. But then the change of pace and change of environment make you come out of your shell and actually experience something new. And then you are like, okay, yeah, you might still be adjusting a bit with like the both introvert and extrovert and like combination of both, you know?
I get exhausted at the end of the day. I lose energy over time. But yeah, I can gain a little energy here and there. Introvert, extrovert, but what I want to emphasize is that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
If you're an introvert or an extrovert, all that matters is how confident you are as a person in that space.
No.
So even introverts can be extroverts in a space they are comfortable. So like if you're with their own space and their community with their friends, that's also a social setting. But they're confident
it's like
about themselves.
not overthinking, develop your own personality, go out with it, and just put yourself out in that environment and try to get the good feedback on it and improve every day. You just improve.
Just explore.
Explore, improve.
You don't have to represent yourself. You don't have to put yourself in the spotlight. You just have to put everybody else in the spotlight. Get to know them, get the lay of the land, get more clarity, and then you will know the space that you will feel more confident in.
Yeah, so I remember one time you saying, I would just like paraphrase it, is that you don't have to talk to many people to know them. You just have to ask good questions.
Even before that, I would even say going to events is tough. in terms of like getting the motivation to do it. But because you put yourself in the pressure like, oh, I need to talk to people, I need to introduce myself, I need to get benefit out of this and all that. No, forget about all that. You are at level 0 and you're already thinking about level 100 and how to, like 80 to 100, how to defeat the boss to get the thing. You have to, don't think about that. Think about level 1. Level 1 is you actually just showing up. There's so much power in just showing up and showing up regularly. If you just keep showing your face, people are going to start recognizing you. People are going to start getting curious about you. And then they will come and actually try to talk to you. All you need to do is go to an event, just show up. Even if you, and introduce someone, introduce yourself to one person.
Yeah.
And that's already a success. Even if you can't introduce yourself to one, just show up, that's it.
Just show up.
If you keep regularly doing it, people are going to start noticing you. Everything is going to get much easier. Yeah. And then now, coming back to when you were saying, like, yeah, like about you also feel like, oh, you got to talk, you don't know. But you don't have to think about you talking, because everybody in the space, especially like in entrepreneur, everybody who's out in those events, they are there because they want to be heard. They are having problems and they want to be heard, or they want to feel validated about themselves. So they'll love to talk about themselves.
They are the one who want to talk to someone.
You don't have to talk.
And you are just there to listen.
You just like ask questions, navigate conversations.
Yeah.
You don't have to say a single word about yourself. And if they are curious about you, then they'll ask, and then you just tell them about yourself.
Till then, you just keep on listening.
Yeah.
I bet that's a really good conversation, getting to know about your journey and also your new venture that you are starting off with, helping all the entrepreneurs. So before we end it, like I do want to know, we ask this to everyone we interview. What kind of book you would recommend, or any author that you recommend, made a good impact on your professional or personal life?
Ooh, I'm reading a couple books. Atomic Habits was a big one by James Clear. That got me to really be interested in productivity books because like there's really big power in spaces and habits that I'm trying to figure out that helps navigate my ADHD a lot better. That's a really good one. But there were like a couple of design thinking books that talks about design thinking process and all that. And there's like terms, one of the terms that they use frequently is don't think of failure as something unattractive or something that to be disappointed. Or like you fail, you're unworthy, and you're like, you know, how is especially Asian mindset, there's a big thing about failure. If you fail, you are a disappointment, you are nothing, kind of a thing. So we put that in a way we feel that stops us from doing a lot of things. But in the design thinking process, you are expecting failure, you're expecting uncertainty.
Yeah.
If you want to innovate, if you want to do something good, you want to make something impactful, you got to embrace that uncertainty and do many experiments that you are going to get the results out of, and you will fail.
Yeah.
But don't look at those failures as failures. Look at them as lessons.
Oh.
Look at them as lessons, and then eventually, if you learn more and more, you are eventually going to gain much more clarity out of the uncertainty and the complex journey that will get you closer to your destination.
That's a really good one. A really good thought.
That changed my thing because
Change
of
your
the Asian
perspective.
mindset. Yeah. So next few weeks and months after I learned that, I kept everything bad happened to me. I was like, okay, wait, this is not failure. This is good. I learned this out of it. Now I'm gonna move on to something better. So that also comes back to like everything that I faced, the layoff and everything, the getting differences with my venture studio, getting rejected by people here and there. I saw it as an opportunity to be better.
Every rejection was an opportunity.
Yeah, it was a lesson.
Was a
and
lesson.
An opportunity.
So every rejection was an opportunity, was a lesson. So if you hadn't gotten laid off from a job, you wouldn't have tried a venture connection. If you hadn't gotten rejected from the venture connection, you wouldn't have tried to go to that event with investors and founders. And if you weren't there, you wouldn't be starting the Spice Labs right now.
No,
So all of it led you to where you exactly want it.
exactly.
So basically, and I would concur with that. Like I would definitely say that many rejections in my life has led me to where I am right now, and I'm really grateful and happy about it. If any of those were not a rejection, if any of those were like, if I had applied to many things, and if even one of those was approved and I've gotten into those institutions that I was trying to, I would literally not be here in Canada sitting right next to you and talking to you about it. I would be like totally different. But like this is the way better thing that I expected. This is like way better than I hoped for, and I'm really grateful for it. Thank you, Eric, for coming to our interview and sharing all the great things with us. And so,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, and like thank you for letting us know about your Spice Lab. And so if you are a founder or you are an entrepreneur with an idea and you want help with ideation, MVP, and also bootstrapping or business development strategy, and just want to connect with Eric or talk to him about it and how he can help you, you can find his LinkedIn link in the description. Please do connect with him. He's a really great guy, and he has helped many, many people with their journey. So thank you, Eric, for coming to our show. It's really great to have
Thanks
you.
for having me. Yeah.
Thank you.